We're now joined by UPC Party President Jimmy James Akena. Honorable, many thanks for joining us tonight. You decided to stay behind while your colleagues in opposition walked out in protest. Why is that?
I have been a member of Summit of IPOD, and I've been deeply involved in IPOD from the time it was set up in 2009. And I felt I had something which I needed to put on record. And it was important to put on record that the whole question of the funding for political parties which they're trying to adjust, it is really to avoid paying the political parties what is in the law. Currently, as the law stands, we are supposed to share the funding equally in this election year. In going around that issue to avoid the equal funding in this election year, and it brought a formula which should have been applied in 2020, and I did present the same formula to the committee then headed by Oboth, and they basically gave us the issue that it can be handled administratively, but reality came out, they just went to the numerical strength and did not follow what was agreed within IPOD. And to go further on the question of IPOD, those who brought the issue and raising questions about what is going on in IPOD have never been any part of IPOD or participated in any IPOD gathering. So it is strange that you get people who are alien to IPOD bringing matters of IPOD. And truth be said, in this recent times, it's the NRM who have not adhered to the memorandum of IPOD. Basically, for the last 4 years, we have not had the council meeting, we have not had the summit, and this is because NRM has been in the chair. So it's ironic that NRM are saying that those who are not following and not handling the matters of tolerance and the like should be denied funds, but NRM is the biggest, at this moment, the biggest failure within the IPOD setup. So the whole thing it does not make sense. It does not make sense.
But so did you feel that you gained anything for the opposition, a win for opposition by staying behind, or it was all in vain?
For me, it was very important to put on record because this is going to come out and it's going to be realistic. It is basically, we can put it just a money grab. The whole thing around and how do you bring this political parties and the political parties amendment bill? No party was consulted. Right? In the House, we have 3 members of the IPOD Summit. That is the President of the Democratic Party, Honorable Nawad Mao, myself, and Asman Basalwa as the President of JEMA. So we have 3 Summit members. None of us were consulted. Our political parties were not consulted. And even the problems which they raise about what is going on within IPOD is not true, because that is not the case. The case at the moment for failures in IPOD is NRM, in that NRM have not called any meetings, and therefore IPOD has basically stagnated and it is stuck.
As party president and member of the summit, is this something that you're going to challenge after it is assented to?
I'm waiting to see when it is assented, and then we're going to determine how we're going to deal with it thereafter. But clearly, this I'm not going to take lying down.
In your own opinion, should have IPOD been institutionalized into the workings of government?
IPOD, we looked at it when we agreed on how we're going to move forward. There were several options on how we could institutionalize IPOD. One was an NGO, one was a trust, but also within the law. We looked at those all within the law. And I presented, as I said, in 2020 when the Political Parties and Political Parties Amendment, Political Parties Act was being amended, I brought exactly what okay, with slight difference, but what came from the IPOD Secretariat, which was ignored because NRM felt they would gain more by using the numerical strength provision. But that left 14A of the Political Parties and Organizations Act intact, which meant equal sharing, and that is what was amended today.
And lastly, just 30 seconds, what about the restricting funding to only those political parties that will participate in IPOD? Do you find any justification for that?
I find it strange because the whole issue of dialogue is where people engage in a conversation. Now, you cannot force a dialogue, right? Dialogue is something which you come willingly. And I, as a member of UPC, have been very instrumental and very much involved in this question of dialogue. We've been on it all along. So it's not an issue that all of us have been against dialogue, but I am totally against what was done in this, with this amendment and how it was done. It was done in bad faith, and it is definitely something which leaves a big stench on how we're going to handle our politics as we head into 2026.
Honorable Jimmy James Akena, UPC Party President, thank you so much for sharing your views with us.